Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. What's new in AI for New York City real estate teams? For those who don't know me, my name is David Finley. I'm a real estate media producer in New York City over the last 7 years or so. And in the last year, I've moved into AI consulting, specifically for growing real estate teams. And I help with training, strategy, and building out workflows and custom automations. So today, we're going to talk about what's new and who is this for. So this is for growing New York City real estate teams looking for a competitive advantage to stay ahead with AI. And then also it's very useful for individual agents who want to stay current. Um, and also anyone who's been hearing about AI, who isn't sure about how to actually apply it to their own business. It's useful for you as well. And then why does this matter right now? So, obviously, as you know, AI is moving at an extremely fast pace and it's really hard to keep up with. So, today we're going to go over some of the most relevant topics and shifts in the AI industry that are relevant to real estate. Um, Most teams nowadays are using like last year's version of AI. But today I'll hopefully you can leave today with three things that you can actually act on. And so what we're going to cover is three big shifts in happening in the last year or so. And then each one I'm going to show you like a little live demo and we'll take some questions at the end. If you have any questions, just enter it into the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat, but I'll answer your questions at the end. And I encourage you to answer any question at all. There's no such thing as a stupid question. No question is too basic. AI is very complex and yeah, it'll help. So we'll get started. The first big shift is shifting from chatbot to agent. So most of you would have used ChatGPT or some version of AI in the last year or so. There's Claude, Gemini, Perplexity. These are all large language models. ChatGPT and Claude are probably the main ones. There's also Grok. Um, but what you've been using is a chatbot. So that era is now over. What's replaced it is something fundamentally different, and that's what we're going to talk about here first. So I'm going to assume that anyone who's going to be watching this webinar or is here today, you've used ChatGPT or one of these chat features at least once. So um, yeah, what I'm about to show you now is what comes next. So AI used to answer now it acts. So a chatbot basically is reactive. You ask it a question and it's going to answer you. You do all the thinking. So you have to know what to ask, how to ask it, and then do something with that response. Whereas an AI agent is different. So you give it a goal, not a question. You give it a goal and it figures out the steps itself. So in the last year or so, prompt engineering has been a huge topic of how to like get the most out of AI. And nowadays, now you can just it's a lot easier. Like whereas when you were using this prompt engineering, you had to use like there was loads of different templates out there that you would copy and put into your AI. Whereas now you can just talk to it like a human, keep asking it until eventually you're going to get the goal done of whatever task it is. Um, if you think of it, it's this way, like a chatbot is like a smart reference book with all information in it, whereas an AI agent is like a junior employee or an intern. The reference book waits for you to open it, whereas the junior employee or intern, aka the agent, takes the task and then runs with it. So, for as an example for real estate, instead of asking ChatGPT multiple questions, an AI agent can take a listing address and produce a ready-to-use listing summary, pulling in comps, analyzing pricing automatically, and you give it one goal, I want this listing ready, and it does it. So it does multiple things. You don't ask multiple questions. You just give it one goal and it'll create a listing ready summary. So the advances in the last year have been huge with this, um, from doing tasks one by one to handling like entire workflows just in one go. So it's also worth mentioning in the last year, ChatGPT and Claude, and a lot of them have like they're called apps and connectors. And these are like other tools you might use, like Google Calendar, Google Contacts, and it's really, really powerful. So like you can connect either of these, and then you can say, um, draft an email to John Smith via my Google Contacts. You connect it, and or even you could say like set up a calendar event with Jack Smith in my calendar for next week, 5 p.m. and it'll draft that. It'll create that event in calendar. So it's pulling in information from your Google Contacts and Google Calendar. Like that's agentic features. So that's part of the huge shift. And then worth mentioning down at the bottom here, I've mentioned OpenClaw. So there's a tool named OpenClaw, and that went viral earlier this year. It started as ClaudeBot, and named after Claude, Anthropic's AI feature, AI's large language model. And Anthropic asked them to rename it because of how close it was. And then they briefly called it MoltBot after a lobster molting its shell. And then that didn't stick, so they landed with OpenClaw. So a developer built an AI agent that lives in your WhatsApp and can act on your behalf, taking control over your phone while you sleep, while you're not on it. And over 200,000 downloads happened almost overnight. So it wasn't a product launch, it's just people recognizing that you can do bigger things fundamentally different from just AI answering questions. So it got so popular, it spawned its own social network for AI agents called Moltbook. And this momentum like was huge. It was so big that the Chinese government tried to ban it. So really, really powerful stuff in terms of AI agents and where the future is with AI in terms of chatbot. So I'm going to show you a live demo of how Claude Cowork, and it's a perfect example of like an AI agent. So what I did yesterday was I created, it took about 3 minutes. So in the interest of time, I just screen recorded it. But basically, this is Claude Cowork. It's Claude, the app for your desktop. And you have it on your website, your browser, you can do chat, but you can't do Cowork on the website, so you have to download it. And also you need a paid plan to do this. But super, super powerful. Basically, I can give it access to some of my files and folders, and then it will do stuff for me. So what I did yesterday, I just got it to organize some files. I prompted it with this. Let me just full screen this. So I said, organize everything in this folder. And it's this folder over here. This is just a screen recording, obviously. But rename all the files, that anything that's unclear to something descriptive. Create the subfolders and move everything in the right place. So just organize everything for me so everything's not messy. So I started with, I'm going to show you actually what the folder looked like. So this is the original, and everything is messy. Like there's some stuff that I got Claude to create that's just random, but like a buyer contract. So it'll be interesting to see what it does with that, what folder it's going to put in, how it organizes it. It probably won't need to rename it, but some of these that are like unnamed, just random characters, it does a really good job. This is just it's a floor plan, random spreadsheet. And yeah, so let's see what it does with that. So that's the original folder. And then once I prompt it, I've given it, let me just go back. So this is where I've given it the folder to access. And it just basically, Claude asked me for permission to read, edit, and change anything in that folder. And you want to be a little bit careful. I would always start off with files that you are okay with losing. Like you're not going to lose anything, but just in case. Just start off to play with it using files that are not too important. And yeah, this is a great first example to play with it, see how it's a great example, as I said, of an agentic feature from AI. And what it does is it goes through it step by step. It gives you the progress. Up in the top right, you'll see it inspects all the files, and then it's going to start creating a logical folder, create folders, and then that's the output then. That took about 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes. There wasn't too many files there, but you can see it tells you what it's done, and then this is the output. Let me just move this here. So it's named everything. It can open it, obviously, look at what's inside and name it so that it's easily findable and everything's just organized. Um, it doesn't do a great job on videos, but it still does name them by their date. These couple of ones there I had were produced with AI. So it says that. And then, yeah, screenshots, as I said, it does a great job of screenshots. So that's that. And let me just get out of that. So I'll just show you the output screenshots. So like building photo. There wasn't too much. That was just a random photo I put in there, but it did a decent job. There's not too much. HubSpot, ChatGPT prompts, pretty cool. So as you can see, it's just organizes everything and reads everything and takes a task off your plate. So saves you time. Um, so yeah, organizes everything into a folder, into logical subfolders. And so if you can imagine how you could use that, you could use, folders full of like listing agreements, contracts, client photos, and it'll go in there and based on what it is, it'll name it for you. And it's just an easy way for you to find stuff if you've got a lot of files. So 6 months ago, AI could not really do this. It could do it, but now it's just much easier with the Claude Cowork. Today it just does it, and that's the shift there. So next, our big shift number two is GEO. It's called, which stands for Generative Engine Optimization. So you would have heard of SEO before, which is how to rank on Google. So a question for you, like if you are a ChatGPT user, a Claude user, you use AI, when was the last time you actually asked AI for something like a restaurant or a hotel in a popular vacation? You're searching for through AI rather than Google. So that's where the shift is coming in, and that's what we're going to talk about. But going forward, like your clients are going to make that same switch. Um, and most realtors right now are not showing up through AI search yet, and they're not focusing on this. So that's what GEO is about, Generative Engine Optimization. So how clients are finding agents is changing. So it's a $34 billion industry by 2034. So it's not a trend. That's a market. That's where it's headed. Right now, 65% of Google searches end without a single click. So AI just answers the question. There's no list of links, no visiting websites. It converts a lot better than searching. It just takes less time. So, um, but if you pull out your phone right now after the session, you type into ChatGPT, who's the best real estate agent in the West Village, and you'll see who comes up, and then see if it's yourself. See if you can find yourself through searching with certain search terms. Um, so I have down at the bottom a bit of an analogy. SEO, which I'm sure you're familiar with, gets your name on the menu, whereas GEO is being what the waiter would recommend to you when someone asks, "What should I order?" So most of your competitors probably haven't thought about this yet. The window is not going to stay open long. So it's definitely something worth thinking about in the long run. If you rely on SEO, GEO should definitely probably be more important at this stage. So what can you actually do about it? So that's what we're going to talk about in the next slide. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to open ChatGPT and I'm going to go through how it might work. So say if someone asks, who's the best real estate agents in the West Village? Let's see what it comes up with. And that's an example of agentic feature. It's searching the web. It used to not do that. Um, so there's no official list, but it's always going to give you a list of people and teams based on the area. They're the top brokerages. So I'm going to ask a little bit more specific. I'm going to say, what signals or factors does an AI system like ChatGPT use to decide which real estate agents to recommend in a specific neighborhood like West Village, New York City? So, frequency of association between that neighborhood and your name, online authority and credibility, reviews and social proof. And again, this is very similar to SEO, but it's not the same. And we'll hit on that point in a second. Content footprint, huge and underrated. AI strongly favors agents who publish useful content, neighbor guides, market videos, etc. Consistency across the web. Okay, so I'm going to ask it another question. I'm going to say, if I wanted to consistently show up as a recommended real estate agent in AI generated answers for a neighborhood like West Village or whatever neighborhood you're based in, you focus on, what would I need to do? So if you treat this like SEO for AI, the goal is isn't to convince one platform, it's to build a dense, consistent web footprint that screams this person. Okay, so own the keywords, build authority on high trust platforms. Again, the more content out there about you, the better. Stack reviews and then create hyper local content around that area. Use video. The video will pull in like video transcripts and captions and then getting mentioned on other sites. So you can do this yourself. This is just a quick kind of demo to show you how AI um how it thinks about putting you forward when someone asks a question. But it can give you here like this is a good plan. You can launch one strong West. So basically more stuff on the internet, the better. Um, so just to summarize it here, don't make it sound like marketing copy, but answer any questions that they might have, that they might put into ChatGPT or Claude or any AI. And then, yeah, things like Google Business Profile, building up reviews, having like FAQs, having Q&A features. You could have a Q&A video, Zillow, LinkedIn, etc. And just publishing consistently on whatever neighborhood you're in, whatever area you're focusing on. Uh, consistently posting about market updates, local insights, etc. So the realtors who do this now are going to have a competitive edge over everyone else if they focus on AI search in the market before ever. It's like a real gray area right now. So um really good one. And my next point will tie in together with this, and it's something I'm personally connected to. As I mentioned, I've done 7 years of real estate media production in New York City. So I know exactly what it takes to, run a production, the crew, the gear, the editing hours, the cost. So this world hasn't completely disappeared, but it's no longer the only option. AI has removed the biggest barrier to show up consistently. It was never for a lack of ideas, it was just time. As you probably know, it's just really, really time consuming to put out consistent content. So, disclaimer, there's no one way to do this. Everybody does it differently, and you can do it whatever way works for you. But it is really important. So, 78% of potential clients research you on social media before they ever reach out. Before they call, before they email, they've already made a judgment about you. So what holds most people back is they overcomplicate whatever system they have, whatever content they're trying to put out. And I want to tell you what I personally do for what I'm creating my content. Um, and you don't have to replicate it, but it's just worth mentioning. What I do is I generate my script with a custom GPT. I build it around my voice, my brand, my business, what services I offer. I give it plenty of context about me and my voice. And then I'll film myself with a good camera, a good microphone, and good lighting. And then I use a teleprompter, so I'm not memorizing everything. I'm just talking to the teleprompter. And then I do a couple of takes. Grab that footage, and then I put it into Premiere Pro, add music, add captions, add B-roll manually. And that's all manual, but like this is easier for me because I've done it over and over, and it's second nature to me, so it's a little bit more quicker. But then I'll schedule everything through Instagram. So that's my setup. As I said, you don't have to copy that. That's just the way I do it. But I went down a rabbit hole of finding, how can you automate content? Because there's so many features out there. Um, Obviously, I mentioned the script writing, and that is a huge piece to save time. Um, but yeah, you don't need expensive gear. You don't need to know how to edit, and you don't even need to be on camera. So you just need a simple system you'll actually stick to, and you're consistently putting out stuff. So I'm going to show you some options and some tools that you could use to consistently put out content so that you're getting on those AI searches. So this is a demo. I'm going to start with the script, and this is where AI will save the most time. So if anyone doesn't know how to create a custom GPT, it's really, really simple. It's over here in GPTs. You go to explore and then create. And then in the interest of time, I've already created this one. It's a New York City real estate content assistant, and I'm going to show you the back end of it. So name, description, and conversation start, they're not really important. The most important thing here is the instructions. So you want to tailor it, as I said, to your voice, to your brand, to your business, where you're located, at everything. Kind of the more context you give it, the better. Um, so that's everything I put into it. And also, if you want to create one of these, just create it in a separate chat GPT. Just be like, I want to create a custom GPT for me, a real estate agent in New York City, focusing on Upper East Side, etc. And it'll give you really, really good content. And then you'll tweak it just a bit. So that's that. And I'm going to, instead of like writing it out, this is one of the conversation starters. So I'm going to say, create me a 60-second video about rising inventory what rising inventory in Manhattan means for buyers right now. So I had this in the instructions to ask me, you know, who's it for? Buyers, sellers, investors, or general? I'm going to say buyers, and then boom, there's your script. So like that alone saves a huge amount of time. That's a 60-second script. Um, so then you could just copy this script, and then what can you do with it? So that's what I'm going to show you next. A couple of different options you have. This is obviously tailored towards people who are comfortable speaking on camera. If you're not comfortable speaking on camera, there's other options, and I'll show you that now after my first example. So if you do like speaking on camera, you can copy a script like this. And what I found to be the best, the front runner, was Captions.ai. It does a good job of um, everything basically all in one. It automates captions, it adds B-roll, and then these are the different styles. So this is the desktop version. This is just the website, obviously, but on your phone, it has a really good application for your phone um, that you can look at. These are all obviously AI generated, but yeah, there's different styles there, and you can just upload your video. The step one is putting the transcript into captions, and then you record yourself, and then it'll bring you to this where you choose a style based on your captions, etc., and it'll put in B-roll, which is pretty cool. See, that's B-roll there. So as I said, Captions.ai is genuinely impressive right now, and it's at the forefront in my opinion. Um, Worth mentioning next is HeyGen. This is AI avatars of you, and this lets you clone yourself as an AI avatar. You record yourself once, you feed it a script, and then it's going to generate a video based on your likeness, based on your clone. Really impressive technology, but honestly, it's still early days, and I feel like most people can tell it's AI. I'm sure in your own feeds you get nothing but AI generated characters. For me, I think it just lacks authenticity. You're like people want to buy from people. They don't really want to buy from an AI generated version of yourself. It's an interesting space, but that's just me personally. I think humans buy from humans, not um, bots. But they do a good job of like this caricature here. At least that's more honest. It's clearly not you, but um, it's very, very saturated right now in terms of um, AI generated content, or as some people like to call it, AI slap. So that's that. Let's just go back to another one worth mention is BIGVU, and this was actually recommended by AI. It promises to do what everything that Captions does, but it just doesn't do it, and I would not recommend it. So just if you hear about that, I'd stay clear of it because like I got this one, it's really bad. Um, like you can clearly tell it does a really bad job of creating an avatar. Not that that's my avatar, but just creating any character. It's just doesn't look real. Um, if you don't, as I said, if you don't like being on camera, there's other options. I'm going to show you this one, RealEstateContent.ai. And this is great if you just want to, you can just put up your headshot and talk about your listing, market updates, etc. And look at all the content. It's going to create a bunch of content for you to be found on these AI searches. So really, really powerful. Definitely worth looking at if you have listings. Put out as much content as you can. It definitely helps. And then another one this is geared more towards photographers. Um, Basically, it's called Rendy.io. I mean, as real estate agents and teams, you guys would have the photos of your listing, and you could just upload these photos, and then it creates a nice little video. It might not be super, super good quality, but again, it's more content for you to post about your listing. And yeah, as I said, the more content out there, the better. And it's good for people who don't like to be in front of the camera. Another one worth mentioning is Descript. This is good for like more long form videos. So you could be doing a podcast with someone. You could be doing a Zoom call with someone and call that a podcast. And then you can upload that video into this and it'll like get rid of all the pauses and the ms and the etc. So um really, really powerful, worth taking a look at, especially if you're doing long form. And again, another great one for long form is called Opus Pro. And you can just drop a video link in there from any of these sources and it will like splice up your videos based on virality. So if you're talking to somebody for an hour about the latest market updates in Long Island, it'll, based on what you're talking about with the other person, or even if you're talking on your own, it'll splice up the most viral moments and split it up into like, you can choose the duration, but split it up into 30-second to 90-second clips. And again, it'll add captions and B-roll. So really, really cool. And then the last but not least is a good one if you ever wanted to clone your voice. It's called ElevenLabs. I've used it before. It's the best in terms of cloning your voice. You really only need, I think it's only 3 seconds now. Obviously, the more of your voice they have, the better and more accurate it is. But it could be, useful if you ever wanted to talk over a reel where you're not in it and um, yeah, create a voiceover of your voice without even actually recording. So yeah, that's everything in terms of creating your own content at scale. It saves the custom GPT for building your scripts, saves a bunch of time. And the thing that ties it all back to what we talked about earlier with the second point I talked on, the GEO, every piece of content that you put out there trains AI based on who you are, where you are, and what you do, what you provide. So you're going to come up more chance of you coming up more. Um, so a post about the West Village tells ChatGPT that you're a West Village expert in real estate, and then that'll compound over time. And yeah, you'll um, you'll see the results for it. So you don't need viral content. You just need consistent system to put out content, and then that will be searchable content. So the realtors who start building the habit today, if you've not already built it, is going to own a good piece of their own market through AI search before anyone else figures this out. So that's the opportunity right now. And that brings me to my final page. Questions. So if you want help figuring out any of this, and if this applies to your specific team, I can do a free discovery call. No pitch, just a conversation of how AI can help you actually move the needle for you. So I'm always open to, conversations about AI, and we can just have a chat. My details are on screen there, my email, website, phone number, and my Instagram page. So yeah, I'll open it up to the chat. I'm going to check if there's anything in the chat. So I'm going to go with, there's no questions right now, but I'm going to go with the most popular questions. So where do I start with AI? So just start with the one thing that's costing you the most time right now. Don't try to overhaul everything. Just pick one workflow, whether that's content, research, or organizing files, and just start there. Small wins will build confidence. So, um, good question, is Claude Cowork safe to use with client files? And it's the same thing as trusting like Google Drive, Dropbox with your files. So it only accesses folders you explicitly give it permission to. Nothing leaves your computer for training. You're in control of what it sees. But that said, I would recommend starting with non-sensitive files while you're getting comfortable using it. What's the difference between Claude Cowork and ChatGPT? Um, ChatGPT lives in a browser that you can copy and paste everything back and forth, whereas Cowork lives on your desktop and actually goes through and navigates through your files and folders. If I already have good SEO, do I need GEO? Yes, and the reason why is because SEO and GEO reward completely different things. Good SEO doesn't automatically translate to AI visibility. If you think of them as just two separate channels, you're going to need both of them right now. And let's see what else. How do I make AI scripts sound like me? So this is really important because you don't want to sound like a robot, but custom GPT is going to be the best uh, for that. You can give it openers to sound like you, whatever you say in the opening of your videos, however you close your videos, you can put that into your script. So you can also create a video yourself and feed it an example of how you speak. Give it that transcript and be like, this is an example of how I speak. You can even give it emails that you've spoken or any kind of transcript that you have to use your typical language that you'd use. And then after that, the script will generate, it'll sound more and more like you and you'll alter it as you go. So, okay. In terms of pricing, Claude costs $20 a month, well worth it. Same with ChatGPT. Most of the other plans or the features I mentioned are about $20 a month. And as I said, well worth it. Um, is AI going to replace real estate agents? Short answer, absolutely not. Long answer, I think it will replace who doesn't adapt to AI. It's here now and it's not going away, so you may as well take it and allow it to help you. So at the end of the day, the good news is real estate, it's a relationship business. And as I said earlier, humans buy from humans. So that's going to win all day over, AI. But what AI does is it removes friction and it helps you save time. So it's optimizing everything, all your workflows, all your processes, saves you time in admin, content, research, so you can spend more time speaking. Um, and yeah, I think the best agents out there are going to be working alongside it, not worried about if they're going to be replaced. Same as any filmmaker as well. They're going to use it to work with them rather than be worried about if it's going to replace them. So as I said, my details are there on the screen. I'll send out a copy of this to anybody who wants to view it, and I appreciate everyone being here today. Thanks for your time. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next one. All right. Thank you.